Fashion brand owners, do you want to scale your business $3 million using Google Ads only? In this video, I'll show you step by step how I did this for my client. As you can see from the date ranges of November 21st to July 20th, this account generated $3.5 million in revenue with a $1.5 million increase compared to the previous period, about $1.1 million in spend with a $500K increase there, tons of clicks overall. In the first issue with this account, essentially like a lot of Google Ads accounts that focus on Meta, this account was basically on autopilot, just using PMax and spending a lot of money and not scaling, not really being efficient to where it needed to be. So the first step is I took a look at the PMax campaigns here and added more essentially asset groups so that we could test and break out the different categories for men's bestsellers, women's bestsellers, and the different product launches that we were doing. So essentially, I had two strategies here. Have a more consolidated, gender-focused, broad asset group that had images, videos, and copy that was our best performing so that Google could scale really broad here. And then also have very targeted, gender-focused in-market or interest segments for certain product types so that we could focus on those depending on what's trending and what's doing better in the marketplace at that moment. And so you can see I did more targeted signals, kept creative really targeted there, and then more broader signals for the gender focused. And since we were spending a good amount of budget, we could test several different, like up to 10 to 20 asset groups at once, depending on performance, and you essentially review from there. And then another type of asset group I essentially tested were custom customer lists with no images or videos. So this helped to focus more on shopping and search since there was no testing there. And I saw that shopping was doing very well, but there wasn't essentially budget allocated towards that in the asset groups only. So I essentially was testing that for women's, people that have purchased that specific product since the client had that already here. So we really wanted to test those. But however, through the experimentation, you also have to see, because different accounts vary, they actually did much better when you had images and videos, because if you're not competing on price, really, shopping and search isn't the best place to just be. You want to have your images, your creative, your unique selling propositions, and like your maybe even like the people that influencers you work with to really do a lot of the selling. So you want to utilize those images and videos, specifically in this account. That worked a lot better. And then we had different collection campaign launches that we would do depending on the collection and give it a very relevant signal to help scale it as well. So that was on the main PMax side. And then also what really did well for this account is to not only have all product PMaxes, we also wanted to break out the best-selling SKUs. So the ROAS was a lot better on this PMax because obviously these SKUs, we had more in stock. People were more likely to buy them since there was like a lot more reviews on them. So breaking out your PMax bestsellers and segmenting out those from the regular PMax can help bolster performance. I wouldn't recommend having the same products in both because you can run into like some cannibalization. So you want to be careful there between PMaxes, but this isn't true with shopping campaigns, which is what I'll talk about next. So since shopping was doing very well on PMax already, I decided to max out our impressions for both our men's and women's lines of shopping. So you can see we had like 3x plus ROASs on both of these. And these were essentially clicks we were missing out on PMax because it would either run out of budget for the day, which is less likely, or it was capped out on its ROAS target because you have to set a conversion focused ROAS target for PMax. But with shopping, you can do maximize clicks, max out that click share so you're not losing out on branded shopping impressions or non-branded shopping impressions. So that helped to get 1,200 more sales that we were going to miss out on profitably for both men's and women's, and then essentially breaking out these different ad groups, adding negative keywords just to keep it more efficient, because this, you can actually see search terms in shopping versus in PMax. You can see them, but it's harder to add negative keywords and really get that granular control So that really helped the profitability of the account, using shopping to like supplement. And then PMax takes these learnings and maybe leans more towards shopping, overall helping the efficiency of the account. Next, I'll talk about the YouTube campaigns. So since this business had a lot of different creative, since it was coming from Meta and Meta is really like visual focused, I wanted to utilize and keep the creative refresh since it was kind of just not being used at all and barely updating PMax. So the first types of YouTube campaigns I really like to launch are like retargeting. So people that add to cart, view, or haven't purchased in a while, you just want to re-engage those users to help bolster the video platform and kind of teach the account and PMax how to acquire users on like a video platform. As you can see here for the men's, we really wanted to get about like a $70 cost per sale because that's really good, especially if you don't have attribution softwares like Triple Whale. The YouTube video usually doesn't have the best tracking because someone will view a video and then buy. You don't really know 100% accurately unless you have like these different softwares. But this one was getting about a 1x ROAS, which is really good for retargeting traffic for this client. And within here, we were testing about 7 active campaigns, but also we tested tons of different creative overall, almost like 20 different ads. And what I saw were commercial, highly produced commercial creative with like big influencers were more consistent over time. However, shorts were really good to test for shorter periods of times. No pun intended. So users like the funny content that's more digestible to be retargeted to, but that can burn out quickly. So you want to cycle through that longer. But highly produced aspirational content can last a little bit longer. And that's what I saw across essentially all the video campaign types, because I also had men's cold audiences that were testing either competitors, in market segments, or specific custom segments, and just seeing what creative like really meshed with them, trying to keep it similar to like the demographic. So if there's males in a video, you want to target men at them, or if it's a women's focused video, you obviously do women. So just testing that theory and just keeping the creative refresh and staying in touch with the social team so that we could always stay on top was very, very important. And then also if we had any like launches, just doing a separate YouTube campaign specifically for that was very helpful. Okay, next, another critical part of this account was on the search side. So search was kind of like left alone in the dark when it came to really scaling the performance of this account. So starting with branded, I set up an experiment of manual CPCs because I was seeing CPCs rising. I wanted to see if I could do better performance, which you could see I had a 33x ROAS on a brand experiment that I was doing. However, with this increased efficiency, we saw a drop in overall account performance, not even at the search level, but in the campaign aggregate, because all these campaigns are kind of working together. They're not just like siloed. So when you essentially take away a conversion bidding strategy, like a maximized conversion value, regardless of your ROAS target, Google's using these learnings. And when I was speaking to Google reps and just seeing like on the back end data and how it affects it, you really want to focus on a conversion focused bidding, even with branded, because it helps your entire essentially attribution model to essentially improve overall performance on the account. So that's that there. So that's why I ended that experiment and then just focused on a 900% ROAS target. And that was more beneficial and allowed us to scale more versus just having simply a manual bidding where you're more efficient, but not really doing much there. Next, I began to launch different search campaigns depending on the insights that I was seeing both on PMax and on overall trends on the account overall. So when you're looking at these insights reports, you can use this report to essentially test either keyword campaigns depending on the best performing keywords or audience signals that are doing really well. So for example, if you're seeing, say, yoga lovers are doing really good in one campaign, saying like PMax, you can launch an asset group for that and make creative around there, or tell the creative team, hey, let's get more creative focused on here. And also you can create search campaign audiences based off of the keywords and layer on these audiences too. So these all help to supplement and scale search and PMax here. You can also see what types of messaging or text creative is doing well on PMax and bring that into search as well. And then also it'll tell you, okay, what's trending compared to last year, or what's trending compared to the date range that you're looking at. And these all are very helpful insights overall. So you can see here, I launched a bunch of profitable search campaigns that weren't really being run before. They had the wrong ROAS targets. The keywords weren't segmented properly. Refreshing the creative, taking out old promos, like that sort of things, were very important to help supplement search as well in this account. Okay, next on the demand gen side. So this is primarily the Google search app, YouTube homepage, and Gmail. And I recommend this over display because it's more of like Google's approach to meta ads, because it's this higher performing creative placements that Google actually controls versus third party websites that have just like spammy banners. I tend to see a higher conversion rate on these types of campaigns. So I basically was looking at the best performing meta creative and just wanted to help and experiment and scale what was doing good there. And I wanted to test and see if that would do good on the Google ecosystem, just to pick up extra sales that PMax just wasn't advertising on. It wasn't. It was probably wasting some of its budget on display. And when we had demand gen, it might use that network more, so that we can help scale the account more. So these are all to boost the flagship campaigns of PMax by showing it can convert overall. So I ran different experiments, different type of creative, all within the same campaigns, remarketing, different in-market segments, gender focused, just the same strategy I was doing with PMax. Okay, next. Another critical spot that they really weren't focusing on is Google Merchant Center data to focus on bestsellers, and then also keeping promos up to date and refreshed. So the promo section is over here, and essentially if you're a fashion brand that's running consistent promotions, you're trying to push different categories, you want to make sure your promo section on Google Merchant Center and the Google Ads dashboard is up to date, because you can get a lot of clicks, impressions, hundreds and hundreds of sales here just from people clicking on promos. Not even just for Black Friday, but for like any type of promo here. And that is like a big bolster there. And just making sure you're keeping up to date on like any disapprovals in the account. You get alerts when things are disapproved, because sometimes developers on this account would essentially alter different things, and that would cause products to go down. So you don't want to be alerted, and make sure that you know when things are going down the account, especially when you have thousands of SKUs. It's very important. And outside of diagnostics, you also want to keep an eye on, okay, what products are performing above or below where we want them to be. So you essentially have to just review the data and say, okay, the last 30 days, what products are at our ROAS target, which ones are below, which ones have enough clicks, which ones aren't getting impressions. And you want to label these products, like if they're at index, under index, or above. And then once you know, like if something's at index, that means it's doing very good to your target. If it's over indexed, that means it's doing even better. You want to scale it. And you want to break out these products or remove them from the PMax listing groups. So this is very important in the Google Merchant Center can really allow you to do this at scale, because when you're essentially doing new groups and you're doing duplicates or you're trying to scale, you can't just duplicate the listing group and have the same products targeting. You have to manually add more. So when you have thousands of SKUs, adding these ones is, you're essentially not going to want to scale or make new ones, but you can essentially just go in here and add a label instead of having to do item ID segmentation or to try to do product types. You can just focus on, okay, I'm going to make a new asset group with the overperforming bestsellers and put it in its own asset group and give it creative or budget so it can scale. So these are also like things that weren't being looked at in the back end of Merchant Center that overall help this account. If you found this video helpful and you'd like me to scale your fashion brand to $3 million using Google Ads, book a free one-on-one consultation below.